Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. So I'm going to ask some questions, and I want you to be honest in you answering these, even within your mind. Do you say this? I never have enough time. I'm always run out of time. I don't have enough, or I'm overwhelmed. There's so much on my plate, or I got work going on. I got personal stuff. It always seems that things are out of whack, or life is really good, but there's something missing. And you can't put your finger on it, but you know it's there. There's more out there for you. Again, life is going on. It's all right. Maybe you're surviving. You're not really thriving, or maybe you don't even know what your purpose is. It's been said that we all need to know why we're here. What is our why? Why do you show up for work every day? Is that what you were destined and designed to do? If you need help with any of those, or it resonated and you said, yeah, that's me, or that's me right there. It's time to work on that. And we all have dreams. And one of the best ways to help you walk that journey is to work with a coach. I've got a certified dream builder coach today. And let's make some change here. Kristina Smith joins us on the program. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Steve, how are you?
Very well. Yeah, it's great to have you here. And some of those things that I mentioned, are those some things that some of your clients have said to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to add, sometimes people are looking for a life partner or just a companion and feel like they've struggled with that for quite some time.
Let's start there. Why not?
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I love it.
Because, anytime I talk with, even if it's, it could be an astrologer, it could be a psychic, it could be a life coach. They all tell me that is usually one of the top things. When am I going to meet somebody, that is going to change my life? Or why do the same people that don't really support and serve me keep showing up?
Absolutely.
They can't put their finger on it. So somebody comes to you and they say, yeah, I'm ready. I got out of, a relationship. I've taken some time. Don't want to do the rebound thing. So if you've taken some time, maybe you've worked on yourself a little bit, but you got yourself out there. Maybe you're on dating apps. You're connecting with friends. You haven't met anybody.
Exactly.
What's going on?
Oh, Steve, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love helping people. Even before I worked as a certified dream builder coach, I worked as a certified relationship coach.
I was not aware.
Yes. And
right.
I cannot tell you how many women I helped to find their life partner. I had one client who had been divorced for 20 years. And she was really independent. She was self-sufficient financially, but that was the one piece she was missing. And it's unbelievable. But going through my program, she was able to find the love of her life. And so there is a strategy. It's not just about going on the dating apps, et cetera. It really is about understanding the science and the art of creating your dreams, having your dreams come true. Anyone can dream, but you have to know the science behind it. You have to know the art of making that happen.
Are we talking about manifestation here?
That's part of it. That's part of it. And some people do it relatively easily. I have some clients that I'm working with currently, and they got this. They got this. But I'm taking them to a deeper level. And then I have some clients who don't know anything about this. And Steve, I have to tell you, it is not just positive thinking. That's a small piece of it, but the system I work with is a proven, reliable, repeatable system that hundreds of thousands of people have been through. I just love it.
Obviously, this is a process. It's not let me watch a YouTube video and I'm going to meet the person of my dreams. Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Some of the principles that you're mentioning, and we're just centering on finding the perfect person or the person that supports you the best in your life. What are some of those things that we need to do? And I'm talking that there's depth that needs to get done, and that's why you work with a coach. I'm talking maybe just bullet points.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A huge part of it is understanding how people think and the words that they use, even in their own head, is
Hmm.
critical. That will either bring into their life the right person for them, or it will repel people that might even be a good match. But if you're thinking about this relationship in a certain way, or if you're carrying fear or guilt. So, fear might be, I've had, like you just mentioned, a number of people who absolutely don't, they're not a good match for me. So that's one thing. So they fear that the person who's going to come along next is going to be the same way. I was listening to a client the other day and she said, why do I always attract narcissistic men?
Hmm.
Why does that always happen to me? And I had to laugh. And as we began to do the work, she realized I didn't have to point it out. I said, we'll get to that. And as we were doing the work, she says, oh my God, I've actually been creating this. I've been creating this situation. Or guilt. Maybe someone was in a relationship and, you know, they weren't as loving or attentive, or they took for granted this person. And those relationships ended until now they carry the guilt as they've continued to work on themselves. They're carrying the guilt of, I didn't know this. I didn't know how to be a loving partner.
Mm. It's almost as there's a big difference between therapy and coaching, and we can hit that
Correct.
up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like you blend in there because on the call it the therapy side, you're hearing everybody's story
Mm-hmm.
and what they're going through, but then you're hitting them up with the action items to make that change. So when we look at that person attracting the people that they don't want, are we talking about the energy that you put out there and others
Absolutely.
receive it? Like we're
Yeah.
we're little transmitters. Everything is
Yes.
energy, right down. This pen
Absolutely.
is energy. You're an energy,
Absolutely.
and now you're sending that signal out, and the person that doesn't, the one you don't want, is receiving it, and bing, and then
Yes.
you guys met, and then here we
Exactly.
go again.
Because I'm going to tell you, Steve, everything comes back to your thinking. If you are thinking, and so many, I cannot tell you, when I first started researching this work 30, 40 years ago, I happened upon a book. Um, it was called Man's Search for Meaning.
Hmm.
And it was about Viktor Frankl, who was a concentration camp survivor. He was a psychologist. And literally, while he was in the concentration camp, he could smell the flesh of people being burned. He could feel his ribs sticking to his stomach, and he could hear the screams of people dying. And what he did was he broke reality. And this is one of the things we teach people how to do, is how to break reality. So right now I'm sitting in this space, and he held on to, but I want to be a professor in the United States. And I may get the year wrong, but I think it was about 8, 9, 10 years ago, he passed away. He survived that. He ended up as a professor at NYU in the United States. So the ability to be able to stay on track of what is your dream is very helpful. What I see most people doing, Steve, is they're focused on what they don't want. I don't want another narcissistic man in my life. I don't want this. I don't want that. And like you said, what that does is it attracts that person.
Hmm.
I read many years ago, the brain cannot determine
The
it.
subconscious doesn't know the
Yes,
difference.
all right, exactly.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
say I don't want a narcissistic man, what the brain hears is, I want a narcissistic man.
yeah. I'm right there
If
with
I
you.
say, don't think of a pink pig, a picture of a pink pig sits
I've
in
even
your
changed
head.
or I try to be intentional about changing the way I say things. Like, for example, I can't wait for tonight. I can't wait for tonight. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're just saying to yourself, wait for tonight. Just wait.
Right,
It's going to
exactly,
take time.
exactly.
Wait, as opposed to saying, I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yes,
It'll be a lot of fun.
exactly. Look, when my kids were little, I used to run around and say to them all the time, hurry up, we don't want to be late. We don't want to be late. And guess what, Steve? We were late all the freaking time, all the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And then when I read this, I thought, okay, it's me. And that's what people don't understand. I'm co-creating what I'm experiencing.
So what
So
if,
what I did was I
Mhm.
said to them, okay, you guys, it's important for us to be on time. We have to be on time. And so it changed without me doing anything else but changing my language. And that's where people often get stuck, is because they're ingrained with thinking the same thing over and over and over again. And so often it takes tools and techniques that can help people change the way they think, repattern their brain
so
so they have a different outcome.
we are focusing on relationships now, and we've got
Mhm.
lots of segments here to get into other areas. But even though it's relationships, and that was the universe threw it to us, and
Right,
we
exactly.
jumped in that car and sped down that road.
Mhm.
It it applies to other things in life as well. So
Absolutely.
let's say, well, I'm going to give you an example. I'm always transparent. I'm going to give an example.
Mhm.
So I found in my life, after a long relationship ended, that I was meeting women with anxiety. They were almost
Mm.
everyone would have anxiety. I'm like,
Mhm.
what is
Mhm.
going on? We all have anxiety. It's all, all
Sure.
good. Sometimes it supports us in some regards. But like more elevated levels. And I'm like, what is going on? Like that, on with the next one. On with the next one. Like, try. Obviously, I'm not saying I don't want somebody with anxiety.
Right,
I never said
exactly.
that. It was just showing up. But then I started
Mm.
trying to process it. I think I feel that maybe that happened because my mom had anxiety, which, and I didn't realize it in real time, but after she had passed, I'm like, yeah, maybe that's it. And there's something in me that maybe I'm the fixer, and
Oh,
I'm the antenna. Come to me. Steve's the therapist. He'll help you out with that. Uh, I don't believe I have anxiety. As a kid, I did, and yeah, but my mom was very overprotective, and I'm thinking maybe that had something to do with it. Like I'm the nurturer, so come on down.
look, I got to tell you, Steve, you hit the nail on the head. I read a lot, actually, and I'm not trying to be funny, but I should be in a 12-step program for people who buy too many books. I
God
buy
bless
a
you.
I buy a book every day of the year.
Bring that on over here because
Uh,
oh, Kristina, I struggle. I have books even on what we're talking about, manifestation, everything sitting there. And the other night I got home, I'm like, all right, I have the night. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to read. I'm like, my brain is not there and I can't focus.
Yeah.
So I didn't even
I
watch
have to do
TV.
it first thing in the morning. I have to do it
Oh,
first thing in the morning. But one of my favorite authors, and I actually found him through my relationship coaching practice. It was a gentleman named Gay Hendricks. He's phenomenal. He and his wife have done work over the last 50 years about relationships. He's a psychologist and
hmm.
phenomenal. And one of the things he says, Steve, is that I was biting my tongue as you were talking. You hit the nail on the head. He said, oftentimes we attract the person who's like the parent that caused us the most anxiety or the most stress because we have a desire to fix that relationship. So we attract that person in order to fix that which was not quite fixed in our own family.
Hmm.
So it is important. First of all, it was amazing that you recognize that. But then what do you do with that? How do you repattern that? And you're right, you are an antenna and you're drawing to you something. How do we repattern that? And that's what my programs do is we help people repattern, get out of their own way, create different causes to bring about different results. Who was it that said if you do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result, that's insanity?
Right. Maybe Einstein or
Yeah,
like
I think it was.
Freud.
I
I don't
quote
even
him a
know.
lot.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting what you're saying there because now I have clarity on it. And
Mhm,
my relationship with my mom was great. There's nothing, but on the overprotective side as a kid, and that's where a lot of this happens.
mhm.
Um, that pilots are subconscious. later in life as
Yes,
adults.
absolutely.
Maybe in my mind, it's like, all right, that was challenging back then. Let me see if I can fix that. So by way of the universe, somebody else shows up. Let me work on that. I'm not intending to fix anything. I just want
Hmm.
search for the right person. But yeah, very interesting how this all works. But most of it, many of us don't even know, and it just
Yeah.
took trial and error for me to figure what I think is the answer there. And that also applies to the many women say, aren't there any nice guys out there? Same ones
Hmm.
keep showing up.
Right.
Deadbeats. I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. 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 That's exactly right. I want to bounce back to something along the same line. I don't condone what Will Smith did the night of the Oscars, where he went up and punched Chris Rock. I don't condone that at all. And I don't know, we never know someone's true um, intention or what's underneath something. But one of the
Sure.
things I read later was that he felt like his mom was being traumatized when he was little, and he felt incapable of protecting her. And that somehow when Chris Rock was, saying something about Jada, unconsciously or subconsciously, he felt a need to protect her like he couldn't do for his mother when he was a child. Now, who knows?
Wow.
But yeah, it's deep. That's really
Wow.
deep. That's
Whoa.
really deep.
He got triggered.
Yeah, he got really triggered. And we all
Mm.
get triggered by something. So we should know what triggers us, and we should know how to manage them. And again, I love the tools and the techniques. And like I said, it's not just positive thinking.
That is so interesting. I'm going to Google that I want to read deeper into that.
Hmm.
Um, I have new respect for Will. Again, don't condone what he did.
Right,
I
exactly.
get it. But I can see in that moment, it's a very powerful moment on stage. There's many emotions going on there, and how almost instinctively,
Yeah.
went back to his childhood and his mom. And now it's happening again with his
Yes.
wife. And
Hmm.
he acted, I think, on instinct, just
Yeah. Yeah.
connecting those dots. And wow, wow.
It's deep.
It
Really
wasn't
deep.
just an act of violence. There,
No.
there was something connected to it.
Right.
And,
Exactly.
and I wonder wonder if Chris Rock would feel about that. If, they sat down like, dude, here's what happened. In my mind, I'm thinking about my mom. And then,
Hmm.
and what do? We pick partners that often remind us of our parents, right? So
Exactly.
there's,
Exactly.
a subconscious connection, whether big or little. Wow.
Yeah.
Very
It's
interesting.
it's it's fascinating.
It really is. What got you fascinated in all of this, helping people?
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for asking, Steve. Thank you for asking. Look, like I said, many years ago, I read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And then I read a book called The Instant Millionaire. And The Instant Millionaire was a book about a young man who wanted to become a millionaire. And he shared that with a friend, and he said, you need to go talk to the gardener that lives at the top of the hill.
Hmm.
So this man was a millionaire. And the outcome of the book is he really talked him through mentally what you have to do to change your reality. And when I read that, I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And it was a very short, simple book. I loved it. And then I read another book called Alice in Quantum Land, and it talked about the quantum mechanics, the quantum physics of how we attract things in our life that cause us joy, pain, and suffering, and everything in between. And I think most people don't understand that we are in control of a lot of this. Not everything, but a lot of
Mm.
it we're in control of. And so I just happened to go from book to book, and I kept thinking, this is profound. I started making some profound changes in my own life that were
Wow.
mind blowing to me. And I began to think, how come people don't know this? People don't know this stuff. The long and short of it is, for 20 or 30 years, literally, I wrote many years ago, 20 years ago, my mission statement was to help millions of people overcome their self-imposed limitations. But I could not figure out how to do it, other than say, you should read these 50 books that I've read. And then I ran across the Brave Thinking Institute. And Mary Morrissey, the founder of the Brave Thinking Institute, was the person who had been studying the same things and even other things that I'd never heard of. And she was able to codify the system of transformation. And when I found this, I wanted to cry, because I thought people need to know this. Their lives would be so much easier, so much more enjoyable, so much more fulfilling. And so I said, I want to go through the program. I want to be certified as a coach. And the coaches that I'm working with that are doing this work, they feel it also. We're vibrating at a much higher level and helping lots of people overcome and transform.
And this applies to all of our dreams. And I know we centered on relationships. And I got to tell you, Kristina, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of people, men I know, and they're looking, myself included, for the right person. And in my conversations with them, they give up certain pieces. Again, I'm not the therapist and don't want to be, but I see it. And one of them, you know, there's no good women out there. It's the same ones. And then if you listen every once in a while, he'll admit that he's still stuck on his ex. And they got divorced in 2016. And then there's another friend that, you know, he'll kind of say the same. And he's in a situation where he cheated. Guilt. And even when he talks about this woman, and, you know, there's a lot of things that don't support him, and he's kind of in the middle of like wrestling with it. You can see his hands actually start to, as he talks about it. There's some deep stuff, especially the guilt thing. You said that before. And he regrets it. He regrets it.
Yes, of course.
Wow. So impactful talking with you today.
Thank you.
You're amazing. You really are. And you're so grounded and chill. Like, it's just like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. This. You remember you started at the top of the hour saying people want to know their purpose.
Yeah.
This is mine.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say it. You said it. And yes. And I got to tell you, it's funny when I say top or bottom of the hour, friends make fun of me. It's like, well, that's like broadcast talk. So you just said it. So lots to talk about next time we get together. Kristina, if this is resonating with somebody, not just about relationships, but anything that they're trying to achieve, their goals, their dreams, how do they connect with you?
Sure. My email address, I'm going to give you two. My email address is createalifeyoulove13@gmail.com. createalifeyoulove13@gmail.com. Or you can call or text me at 202-630-0382. 202-630-0382.
And your website?
My website is mydreamsaccomplished, with an ED at the end, accomplished.com. mydreamsaccomplished.com.
Wonderful talking with you. And I validated a lot, learned a lot today, and looking forward next time we get together.
Great. Thank you so much, Steve. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kristina. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the mytuner-radio, online radio box, and simpleradio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcasts on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.